Cause in the past, right, we do not have like social media or like other kind of blog sites to spread news to like audiences who wants to read. So I'd like to ask if the people who are behind this, which are like journalists, are they still responsible to the public like now, even with all these social media websites?
Okay, with the advancement of technology, there's so many different ways we get our news, right? Now, when a bomb explodes in Gaza, 10 minutes later, the whole world will know about it. It's because of the internet, right? Internet, YouTube, social media, Facebook, Twitter. It comes so quickly. It's not like before. If you want to know what happened, you have to wait for the newspapers to come out the next day. Everything is later than what we have now. When MH370 happened, right? When MH17 happened, the plane exploded at 10:35. At 10:45, the whole world knew about it, right? TV, internet, all kinds of channels. Now the problem when we get fast news is whether journalists have time to double check that their facts are accurate. So there's always the fear that we may be churning information that has not been factually checked. So there's always an opportunity for information that may not be accurate. So that's why you see so many websites sprouting out, so-called news websites, but we do not know how credible these so-called journalists are. And as readers, as news audience, we have to always question whether the information is legitimate or not. Now, whether it was in the 1930s, 1960s, 2000, 2050, 2060, whatever era we may be in, journalists, credible journalists know that they must always be ethical when it comes to gathering news. That is the backbone of all credible journalists, that their information and how they get the information is accurate. So no matter how far technology advances, no matter how different the platform changes, we have to be ethical. The information must be accurate. It has to be right.
So there are people saying that journalism is becoming more artificial and it's not like how it was lah. Is it still to inform, entertain and persuade people like in the past, or has it become more commercialized?
I think the question is not whether journalism is commercialized or whether there is a change in how journalism is done. Of course there's a change. When you offer new technological advances, when there's new platforms to disseminate the information, there will always be opportunities for the kind of journalism to be questionable. But when it comes to ethical journalism, when you have credible people doing the news, they will always give credible information. The question actually is not the people who make the news, the question is the people who get the news. Will the viewers, will people like you and I, will people like your friends, can they tell the difference between credible information and information that are not credible? So if you were to ask an old fogey like me, if Stomp is credible journalism, I would say no, definitely not, because it's sensational. The stories are meant just to provoke. There is no real factual evidence there. There is no proper sourcing. You get a sensational picture and then you are expected to think that that is a real event. There is no real ethical journalism involved there. So for people who understand journalism, they know that it's tabloid and it's just for entertainment, to create a reaction from the audience. Real news is not about that. Real journalism is not about that. Real journalism is to give you valuable, newsworthy information that is based on truth. If I want credible, ethical, correct information, I don't go to Stomp. I go to the Straits Times, or I go to Yahoo. Yahoo is also getting very strange these days. Or I go to BBC, I go to CNN, because they have the journalists that must give the correct kind of information. They're not interested in drama. Their job is not to sensationalize everything. Tabloid news, there will always be people who want to read tabloid news, always, right? But the people who read them must know that the information is not credible. Whether you want to call the people who do tabloid news journalism or not is up to you. Whether you enjoy it or not is up to you. It's everybody's right. But you have to know it's tabloid, which means that it's not real journalism. Real journalism are journalists that do work for real networks, real publications. They understand that the way they gather the news must be based on truth, must be fact-checked. Those things will always remain the same, no matter how technology changes. That is the backbone of real journalism. I used to go to the uncle shop, right? And the uncle shop would sell these very colorful magazines or newspapers, printed in very different style paper from America. It's called the National Enquirer. And the stories were all so exciting, like mother gives birth to alien child, like a superstar loses 70 kilograms overnight. And when I was that age, I thought these were real stories. And I would love reading them because they were so colorful. Got pictures some more. If got pictures, must be true, right?